What is WWE? They're supposed to be the kings of marketing, and it's become quickly apparent to me that there are a lot of things lacking in WWE as far as character development. And one of those things that's lacking right now is the art of the finishing maneuver. It's lost. It's gone right now. I had a listener of the show, MGT. He brought up to me the other day, and this was in regards to something different, but it made me talk. It made me think. He brought up the other day that while a lot of people herald MJF as a great wrestler, most people couldn't name MJF's finishing move. And that was interesting to me because I was like, I don't know MJF's finishing move. And when I think when he says most people, and when I say most people, we're referring to the casual fans, because there'll be some IWC dickhead who gets a hold of this video and they go, it's the double cross, right? Who knew that? I didn't know that. You got to kind of dig around to find that information. And it got me thinking. This is the old head in me talking, but in the Attitude Era, I could name pretty much every person's finishing move. And as a casual fan, there is a significance to a finishing move that I think has been lost in 2022. The finality that it brings to a match. This idea that when we saw the finishing move, we knew we were at the end of the match. And there's a difference, guys. There's a difference in finishers and signature moves. Signature moves are great. I like signature moves. I think that the top row flippy stuff should always be somebody's signature move, because 90% of the time they end up landing on somebody's knees anyway, and it's just a swerve to keep the match going. But finishers should have finale. They should feel like fatalities in Mortal Kombat. When that happens, you know the match is over, and if they kick out of a finisher, oh boy, this was a special match. This was a big deal. Too often now, does it take 3 or 4 F5s to put somebody down? It takes 3 or 4 attitude adjustments. It takes 2 or 3 KODs. Like, these finishing moves are supposed to be a spectacle. We're supposed to lose our shit when they hit these. And too often now, it's just hit all the time, too frequently in the same match. These were identifiers. These are how you knew that this person, when they hit this move, it made them special. Even if other people use this move, when this wrestler uses it, it makes them special. To me, your finishing move is as important as your theme song, your gimmick, your whole package. The theme song was highly important, and I just think that's lost in the current time of wrestling. And I don't know. I went on WWE.com and I pulled up a roster sheet, and I just wanted to see how many finishers could I name. Just off the top of my head, just looking at people, quick scan of the roster. I know I missed some. I'm sure there were some easy ones I missed. But I think I got 22 out of 100. I was able to identify Styles Clash, A-Town Down, End of Days, KOD, Hurt Lock, F5, Crossroads, the Figure 4/Figure 8, Zigzag, Claymore, Spear, Coup de Grace, the 1D, which is a new one, and I appreciate the Usos are trying to kind of beat that home and package that into their whole little gimmick. So I appreciate the Usos kind of using the old school mentality of going, we have to get this tag team move over, and we've got to get people used to seeing us finish matches with the 1D. So I can appreciate that. Attitude adjustment, pop-up powerbomb / stunner for KO, RKO, Ronda armbar, bank statement, skull crushing finale, twisted bliss, haluva kick, bro kick, curb stomp. Those were the main ones. But there was a trend I saw, right? If you look at that list that I was able to identify, it's a who's who of established wrestlers. 5 years plus in the business, minus maybe Bianca Belair, who has done a good job of getting her finishing move over. But other than that, there's not a lot of these new style kids that I can identify what it is that makes them special, what move it is I'm supposed to look out for that makes them kind of pop. Just a side note, this is going to completely derail this for a second, but as I was scrolling through the roster on WWE.com, there is right now a space for a vacant. It's just a vacant picture, which is a joke and a meme a lot of people make. But when you click that vacant person, it goes to the Universal Championship, which is interesting. My conspiracy theorist out there, I want y'all to dive in and take a look at that and see where there's smoke, there's fire, if something's happening there. But the problem, back to what we're talking about, the problem is there's this list of Triple H's kind of new breed of wrestlers on the main roster, and I have absolutely no clue what I'm supposed to find special about them. What is their finishing move? And maybe I've seen them, but maybe they're so generic that I don't know and it didn't stick with me. So I went back up to the top of that roster and I looked again and I said, well, I'm going to identify some wrestlers that I really like, but that I have no clue what either A, what the name of their finishing move is, or B, even what their finishing move is. And so I started with the Street Profits. And you're going to say, oh, God, it's Montez jumps off and he shoots into the sky and he lands on a guy. Is that a finishing move? Or is that just a real impressive signature move? Because outside of that, I don't know that the Street Profits have a very notable tag team finishing move or a very notable individual finisher. I can't point to them and go, he does A, and I like A. It is my favorite move. They just don't have that. Same with the Brawling Brutes. I don't know of a tag team finisher. I don't know of an individual finisher. I don't know what Candice LeRae is what her finisher is. I'm sure if you've watched NXT, you guys know, but as a casual fan who only watches main roster, I don't know. And I'm not going to go back and do the research. It's just not. Triple H's job is to sell me on the now. Show me repetition of what Candice LeRae does to finish off matches. Then we can talk about Dominic Mysterio, and you guys are going to go, hold on, we know Dominic's finishing moves. Do we? Because they're messy. He still uses the 619. He still uses Eddie's Frog Splash. We can't right now give Dominic Mysterio his own finishing maneuver. 619, great signature move. It's a callback to Ray. It makes sense. The Frog Splash, the callback to Eddie Guerrero, it makes sense. But Dominic, if he wants to build an identity, has to have a finishing move that is specific and unique to himself. And I don't understand why we can't give it to him. I'm pretty sure most people know Elias's finishing move. I don't know it. I believe it's some kind of knee. The Viking Raiders, I don't know. Johnny Gargano, I think it's a submission like Bryan Danielson's, but I don't know. LA Knight, have no clue. Riddick, Madcap Moss, I have no clue what his finisher is. Riddle is another one that's super messy. Because I can't tell you what his finishing move is. I can tell you he does an RKO, he does like a flying bro, he does a triangle, and I get like this idea that, and Bryan Danielson is kind of the big push on this is, well, I want to be able to finish a match in so many different ways. That's great. That's called UFC. This is professional wrestling. This is entertainment. I want to have a fatality. Mortal Kombat has fatalities. I want to see a fatality in wrestling. I want to see that one big move, and I don't know what that is with Riddle. I don't know what Omos is. I don't know what Shotzi's is. I don't know what Solo's is. I don't know any of Hit Row's finishing moves. All of that is a flaw in personality. When I talk about, y'all hear me talk about, because it's kind of my buzzword right now, is personality within professional wrestling. This is what I'm talking about. It's an element that's just being completely overlooked. If I can't tell you what these people's finishing move, and I'm not excited for their finishing moves, that's like 33% of their character that's just missing. And I don't have the exact number, but it does feel like to me when you go down some of these lists that there's way too many generic flippy flip off the top rope finishing maneuvers that aren't sold well enough. They're not unique because everybody's doing them. It's either I'm flipping this way or I'm flipping this way, or I'm spinning to the side or I'm spinning to this side. They're all fucking the same to me. You're just doing a bunch of flips and effectively landing on top of somebody, which all hurts the same. Doing 4 flips doesn't hurt anymore as doing 1 flip, but for some reason you've deemed that your finishing move. They make great signature moves. They don't make good finishing moves. And it feels to me, when I look at this from a booking standpoint, this is just lack of repetition. Nobody's getting enough singles matches in a line consistently to be able to get a finishing maneuver over. Like I said with Riddick needs just a line of like 6 or 7 matches where he finishes them with his finishing move, and we start to develop that's when Riddick does that, it's trouble for the other person. You know, and nobody even has, when I look at it, nobody even has kind of the groundwork for a good finishing move. There's nothing close right now to a Stone Cold Stunner. Kevin Owens does a stunner, I get it, but it's not a Stone Cold. The middle finger shot right before he hits the Stone Cold Stunner, the setup, right? The rock bottom. The people's elbow, the theatrics of the people's elbow. How stupid was it that The Rock went through this whole rigmarole to get to just an elbow drop that finished people? But that's pro wrestling, guys. That's what wrestling is. The theatrics. There's a beauty to that. That The Rock sold us and had us so excited about an elbow drop or a tombstone pile driver, right? I got a pit in my stomach when I used to watch my favorite wrestler wrestle The Undertaker, and he got them up into that tombstone position. You knew this is trouble. This is over. This is a problem. But these theatrics don't exist in the current generation of wrestling. You don't have the atomic leg drops. You don't have guys hulking up. You don't have Goldberg's power slam where he held them up and you knew that was it. That was the finale of the match. When Goldberg hit that, just put another win in the W column for Goldberg, right? Even the pedigree, when Triple H double underhooked the arms, you knew like this is a big deal. I'll give you one. I'll give you one even better. Santino Marella's Cobra. The move alone got him over with the crowd because Santino was a joke of a character, but people were getting hyped up for the Cobra. When he pulled the Cobra sock out, put it on his arm, hit the arm and pop. Like people popped for that because the move was a part of the package. And so then you like that. I know that was just an iteration of the Mandible Claw and Mr. Sacco from Mankind, but those things, they don't exist right now. I will tell you something about Britt Baker, who I will argue, you guys, she's better than 90% of wrestlers in professional wrestling right now because she understands one thing. She understands that wrestling is a package. She understands that it's not just about how well you can wrestle. Britt Baker understands that you need good music. She's got good music. You need a good catchphrase. She's got a good catchphrase. You need a good finishing maneuver. She's got the whole package. She pulls the glove out. She goes into the mouth. Everything works. She's packaged together. She makes sense. That's why I argue with you people when you try to tell me that Britt Baker is garbage. I try to turn around and say, you know, she understands this wrestling business more than 90% of people in this business. And for that, if we're breaking wrestling into a pie chart, she's like 90% of the way there. She can learn to be technically efficient. Half of these other wrestlers will never learn how to put the whole package together and have a finishing move, a catchphrase, a good theme song, a good swag, be able to talk on the microphone. And Britt Baker does that week in and week out. But my fear here is that, you know, Triple H is just so fixated on this reality era, right? The social media, the getting the behind the scene videos and make them look like it came from, you know, some random Johnny 456 sent this video in of Seth Rollins and Riddle fighting in the back. I think that he's at risk of losing some casual fans when you don't have those entire packages. I remember playing WWE No Mercy as a kid. And I knew every finishing move. I knew where they were supposed to come from, whether it was the corner, the top rope, from front, from back, from behind, from the floor, from the head, from the feet. I knew everything. I knew everything about everybody. You could go down the line. I knew D'Lo Brown. I knew the Big Boss Man. I knew Road Dogg. I knew Badass Billy Gunn. I knew X-Pac. I knew Triple H. I knew The Rock. I knew Stone Cold. Everybody. I knew everybody's finishing move and where I was supposed to be when I performed it. Fast forward to 2022, and you pop in 2K22. I have to pause the game during every match to look up, like, what is this guy's finishing move? Where am I supposed to be? And that's just a lack of WWE selling us on this idea that these moves matter. And these moves matter. Look, here's an example. For example, Angelo Dawkins. Angelo Dawkins in WWE 2K22. His finishing move is listed as Spinebuster 19. How generic is that for a finishing move? That Angelo Dawkins' finishing move is listed as Spinebuster 19. And you're telling me there's not a problem there. There's not a marketing, packaging problem there. We're not bringing Angelo Dawkins together enough. We can't sit down and just figure out. Nothing wrong with the Spinebuster, by the way. Spinebuster is an effective move. It can look devastating, but we can't give it a name. The Primetime Slam, boom, there it is. Write it down. Upload it to WWE.com, the Primetime Slam. Just give it a name. It doesn't make sense to me.